Hello, everybody out there. This is Old Buck Dave with a special episode for you all. I think it's going to be season 2, episode 11. Dale is not here with us today. He's still somewhere out in hyperspace. He's allegedly looking for a studio, but I'm beginning to wonder myself. What's special about this episode is we have our first guest. This is our first time you hear somebody other than Dale or Dave talking on the Old Bucks, and who we're going to have is Old Buck Gene. He's an old friend of ours, known him since junior high, I guess. Gene has been a true friend forever, honestly. He was always the craziest, funniest, most outgoing guy in our group, and he was also the best dancer, I have to admit. He was also the hardest working guy. I remember Gene working at one job or another all through high school. He parlayed his wit and grit into a successful career in the sales world and spent a large chunk of his time developing suppliers in Asia, particularly China. Gene is now retired, but he's still not tired, despite all that travel. You'll recall it was Gene who blew up his car engine by going 105 miles an hour in second gear one fateful night. He was the fella in the story in season 2, episode 2, where we worked on a gentleman's farm for a week. Totally broke our backs because Gene was trying to get love in all the long places with the farmer's daughter, and kind of the farmer figured that out, and he got the last laugh on us, breaking our backs for a week. Anyway, this is the same Gene. And that was an interesting experience together. We've had other work experiences together and other fun experiences together. And Gene, I wonder if one of the things I recall, that one of the jobs that I really, really remember is when we were busboys at the Twin Coaches Supper Club.
Oh boy!
And I know you recall that. You want to tell us a little bit about some of your experiences there and some of the things that we did there?
Oh yeah. It was the hours were awful, and we barely made it home before daylight more than once.
Yeah, thinking about that, we were getting paid 50 cents an hour when the minimum wage was $1.25. At age 16 or 17, I think the child labor laws let us work to 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we were working 11, 12, 2 a.m.
All right. Yeah.
Post prom weekends, post prom parties there. We were there at least till 4 a.m. trying to beat the sunrise home. So yeah, it was hey, it was all about supply and demand, wasn't it?
It really was. I mean, we were only 15, 16 years old, maybe 14 years old. I don't remember.
Well, we had to be 16 because we drove
All right.
there
We were
rapidly.
16.
Rapidly.
We were 16, and we, watching the boss. She was a not so kind at the time Italian lady who was very ballsy and very strong-willed, and she ran the club all up in her head, and
Iron Fist.
and like the Iron Fist pinpoint.
Rose the Iron Maiden. Oh,
Yeah,
she was tough.
She was tough.
She was smart.
I think we learned a lot. The main thing was the fun we had setting up. We barely ever watched any of these shows. Was there any show that in particular we watched?
Oh gosh, I remember seeing the McGuire sisters 20 times. We watched them 20 times.
We did see that. Well, we did see them, and luckily we knew that the oldest McGuire sister was dating one of the major administrators in the local Italian association.
Oh yeah. He was always there keeping an eye on things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let's not go down that road.
No, not even worth looking at the leggy stockings they wore.
That's
but
right.
Anyways,
that's right. Yeah, but boy, I remember seeing. Oh, I sang so many times. Oh gosh, who else do you? I remember. Do you remember? This is guy probably nobody ever remembered. Enzo Stuardi.
Absolutely.
You remember him?
Enzo was there as an act. I mean, he filled in like it seemed like once a month. I mean, I don't know.
He was like, he was like an opera singer wannabe, kind of an Andrea Bocelli voice. He was
Right,
not quite enough good to be a serious opera singer, but
right,
but way better than the average guy. I
right.
liked him. He gave me his autograph. I chatted with him a couple times. That's not his real name. His real name was Eddie Stewart, something like that. That was his stage name.
I think that they were little arrows shot in line of teaching us things, just a little bit, not a lot, but
Yeah, I'll
maybe.
give you that. I remember something I learned. And you got me in there. I know that you got me hard there because
Yeah,
they were, like you say, they were always looking for people. This was one of my first days there. I was in the kitchen. You were in there with me, a couple other bus boys, and of course the waitresses and all the cooks. And I went into the cooler there, not the cooler, the freezer,
yeah,
and got out one of those slabs of ice cream that they served, for
right.
and and I'm standing there chomping this, and all of a sudden it got real silent in the room. And everybody got real quiet, and you're like your head's twitching, and this woman's comes walking past, and she looks at me, looks around, and she keeps going, goes out the door. You said, "That's the boss. That's the boss." She said, You said you're going to be in big trouble eating that ice cream. I didn't even know who she was at that point. Yeah, but
well,
I think she cut me a break on that one.
well, yeah, I think she was. She was. She didn't jump your ass in front of the crowd, which when she did that, and she did it not terribly often, but often enough, people would they could walk out underneath the door.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They went
She was
a foot
tough.
to an inch,
She was tough. Oh man. Do you
uh,
remember all those times that the law, they were they were loading the plates on the trays in the kitchen there, and one of their specialties was lobster tail, frozen lobster tail. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that, how many times did that when we picked the tray up, that thing flew off the tray onto the floor, skidding across the floor. The waitress grab it. She just wipe it a little bit. It'll be okay.
Yeah, well, hey,
It'll
I
be
got there.
okay.
I worked there all together about periods within 3 years. I worked. I think I worked there some time. It took some time in all 3 years up to graduation,
Uh,
and I had one night that was a very memorable night because everything screwed up. Everything. I started off by carrying a big heavy tray of food.
well, you had the
Uh,
record. I think you used to carry 16. I could only
16.
I could only do 12. I remember you do.
Yeah, but that's what put the kink in my back for the rest of my life. She started putting the plates down, and the one guy right in front of me stood up, and
Oh, I remember that. Yes, I was there
he
that
stood
night.
and he stood up and he stood up. One of the baseball players from the Pirates. I can't remember. He was an outfielder. I can't remember his name now. Do you remember?
I don't remember. I remember. I remember the episode. He stood up into your tray, right, and kind of everything flew everywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean it got all over him. I mean,
Yeah.
beautiful suit he had on, everything, and I apologized all the hell, and he was very nice about it. He was very nice about it. He didn't chew on her, didn't chew on me. Just asked where the men's room was, and went in and went back to the men's room and cleaned up. That was
I,
it.
I do
Yeah.
remember that night.
Oh,
I do.
that was. Oh, I was scared after death because I was direct and I was caught. I went into the kitchen to take a big load of steaks off off the counter, and I was going to the door, the double door, and sometimes that door would fly open, and you'd be just
Oh, wham!
a
Yeah.
hair
Yep.
close.
Yep.
You'd be a hair close, and one of those steaks slid right off the top, right down into the butter jug, or
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a plastic thing, foot long and a foot wide or whatever, and it had ice and butter in it. and it also had
Yep.
a steak floating on the bottom. and,
Yeah.
and I took it out, and I took a bunch of napkins off the thing, and I slapped it against the side of the wood, and I hit it with the cloth a couple times, both sides. Put it back on the tray, put
Make
it back
sure it
on
was
the
dead.
tray,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
took it out.
Took it out.
And they had to, somebody had to say,
This is special.
steak frozen?
This is special. Yeah. Only at the coaches. Do you
Yeah,
remember
well,
that cruet room? They
yeah,
used to put us in there when when the main show started.
yeah,
And that's where we had all those little cruets, those little glass bottles where we'd refill the oil and vinegar.
right.
People thought they were getting fresh oil and vinegar. I mean, oh my God, we were plucking cigarette butts out of those things. And
Oh yeah,
I
oh
remember
yeah,
the night the health inspectors were around,
yeah.
and they locked us all in the cruet room, and they covered the door, and they said, "Don't make a sound." Oh
Oh,
God.
see, see, it's things like, I mean, I'm crying here. These things like this, you never forget.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
Never forget.
those are the never forgets. You and I were talking the other evening, and I was telling you about the back bar room. Johnny, the little bartender in the small bar in the middle where the girls used to go and get their drinks for the crowd. He said, take this crate or whatever, old wine bottles, what it was, and take it back there and just leave it on the counter. He says, don't leave the door open. Anyways, so I look up on one of the shelves, and there's a Coca-Cola bottle, one of those, the old first time Coca-Cola bottles. In it, floating around, was a mouse.
A mouse.
A mouse. Been dead
Okay.
for many years, and don't know, didn't know why it wasn't ate alive.
It was
By the
pickled in the
Coke.
Coke, or
Yeah, yeah. It was just right in the Coke. Just floating around in the Coke, and they had a cap on, and it was up on the shelf.
and you would wonder why they would show something like that at a restaurant.
Well, and I didn't know why they had that. I mean, why they kept it. I mean, because it was nauseating, sickening,
Mm-hmm.
But I went back out, and I asked a little guy. I said, what's with the mouse in the Coke bottle? He says, you didn't let anybody in to see that, did you? And I said, no, I'm asking you. He said, well, we just got that delivered one time, and they would deliver a Coke. And I said, and you liked it so much, you just figured you keep
You
it
just
forever
couldn't
for
let it go.
posterity. For posterity, you just keep it forever.
Oh, Jesus.
So what? Hey, I was going to ask you, when did you actually start your business flights overseas? You remember the year?
Overseas? Oh,
I'm talking
gosh.
about to either the Eastern Bloc or
Oh, must have been probably mid 80s, mid to late 80s, probably.
okay.
I didn't get to China till probably 92, 93, somewhere
Yeah,
in
I
there.
had been there, like felt like home, old
400
home.
times?
Huh?
400 times by then.
Yeah, it was like unbelievable. But this is the kind of funny thing I remember was Japanese Airlines, and I was with two guys. I met them on the flight. One was 6'7", and he was a buyer, and then it was his boss with him, who was like 6'5" or 6'4". I mean, they were big, tall guys, and here I am, 5'9". So they put us in this Japanese hotel where the beds were like 5'9", 5'9". Maybe I mean, like my feet were right at the edge, and these guys, right, when they put us in the same room, their legs would be
They put you in
laying
the
down
same
over them.
room.
Yeah, they put three beds beside each other or in front of each other, or I mean, they stick them on the wall if they can get away with it. These guys, their legs are dangled over the front.
Wait a minute. You're in a
Dangled over the front.
You're in a Japanese hotel sharing a tight room with two strangers?
Right. Yeah. Well,
Get out.
these guys are buyers, and they had a one roomer which was extraordinarily expensive for the time. but I thought, what the, and I said, the guy said, hey, you know what? If there's enough room, you can bunk in here and we'll all save a little money. I said, okay. It was just overnight one night. They were laying with their legs over the edge of the bed, at the end of the bed, their feet on the floor,
Mm.
and I'm
Wow.
there sleeping comfortable as hell.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the first time that happened to me, and the last.
So did you have a favorite city over there, or?
I had a couple favorite cities of the large type and of the smaller type. I loved Hong Kong, and not the Hong Kong side, but the other side across the bay. Uh,
Kowloon.
Kowloon, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I like Kowloon. They had English speaking food places, and it was very safe.
So you flew into the old Hong Kong airport.
I flew into the old Hong Kong airport between the apartment suites
Yes.
up on the hill,
The,
and we could wave to people when we were coming through.
honestly, the first time that I flew into Hong Kong with another fellow who'd been there before, and he didn't tell me this. And you're banking, basically banking between these apartment buildings. And you're right. I could have read the newspaper, the guy sitting out. And I looked to the guy next to me, who was flying with, and I said, well, you never warned me about this. And he said, I thought it would be best if you just experienced it without any warning. I was terrified. I thought,
I'll
we're
tell
going to
you.
land?
Now you must have sat down when you landed, and you must have said to yourself, "Now was that better in knowing it or experiencing it
Yeah.
first?"
It was probably better the way I did it. If I
Yeah.
if I'd
Oh,
have been apprehensive, well, it's like
hey.
I'm not really in charge of this plane anyway. So
Well, you did that, and I want to ask you one thing about it. What was the weather like?
hot and humid.
Was it raining?
Not that time, but I was there once when there was monsoon.
Oh, that's exactly what I went through. Second time, monsoon hit, and that plane, they turned that plane sideways, and we just kept moving closer and closer and closer to one of those buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the guy, the pilot saw that the tail end was away, and he flipped it back up, and we landed like it was like instantaneous.
Oh,
Instantaneously. We landed on the cement. And I thought to myself, you gotta
gotta be
be.
kidding. Yeah, we had our departure delayed because of monsoon once. And when we did take off, there was a 747 kind of down the hillside off the end of the runway that had not been able to land properly the day before, and that's when they shut the airport down. That was a treat. That was
Well,
a
but
treat.
you did fly in many years after, and you got to fly into the new airport too.
Oh, what a difference! Yeah. Do you have a
Well,
favorite Did you have a favorite teacher in high school, Gene?
let me go back on the two you guys talked about and say that Miss Neff and I stepped up the hill together hundreds of times. I walked her. I walked up the hill with her, up Main Street Hill, many, many, many times. Yeah, but she was a delight.
She was. She
She
was
was a
special.
delight.
Yeah.
I really, I had total respect for her. But my guy was that I really praised highly was Mr. Stregic.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Stregic was,
Great
uh,
guy.
oh man,
That's the guy who picked me and my desk up at the same time and threatened to throw me out the window.
right,
That's the
right,
guy.
right.
He almost did it. I'm not sure I deserved that either,
Well, I don't think
but I probably did.
I was surprised it was you.
He
Hell,
definitely did it to me. I remember.
he
Thought I
didn't
was
take
talking
any
too
bull.
much.
Well, he didn't take any bull. That was the thing. But the key on him was, though, he really respected and wanted every kid that he touched to turn out good and have success. He told me that many times, or just private discussions.
Mhm. It's all about the love. It's all about the love, man.
I think it
You know
is.
that. Come on, you know
I,
that.
I think it is. I'm
All
pretty
right.
sure it is. I'm pretty
Well,
sure it
listen,
is.
listen. On that note, I am going to say thank you, Mr. Gene. I appreciate you coming on and zooming with us here. Our first special guest episode. This will go down in history. Dale will probably want to make you a member of the Citizens Requiring Additional Placebos, whatever he calls that society.
Well, as long as it's always placebos and not things that will cause me to run over the bridge without using the bridge. You know.
Okay. All right. Hey, thanks very much, Gene. Talk later. Take care, man.
Be good, buddy.